Right, boys. So this video was recommended to me on YouTube, and I thought it looked pretty interesting. It's called Shane Dawson being a jerk during the production of his movie Not Cool. Now, this really titillated me because I've seen clips from Not Cool from other commentary YouTubers who reviewed the movie, and the movie is notorious, infamous, dare I say, for being just absolute trash. It's a bad movie, just downright awful. So I guess there was some sort of a documentary series going on behind the scenes of the movie into the making of the movie. It was a type of like competition between Shane Dawson's directing and another female director who was a bit more like traditionally trained in film production. And so at the end of the whole documentary, they choose one of the films that gets published or whatever for similar scripts, although they could change the scripts and they could change whatever they want, but it was just an interesting documentary. So these are clips from how Shane Dawson acted in that documentary while he was making his film Not Cool. This has definitely been done before. There was an HBO series called it was called Greenlit or something like that, or Greenlight. I don't remember, but it's run by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and it was like 2004 or something, some HBO show. So I think it's similar to that. I think it's a take on that kind of a series, which is a great series, by the way. And that one was a lot more interesting because it's not as much of a prima donna as Shane Dawson is, the contestants in that. But yeah, definitely check that out. That's something I had to watch for my film class. But yeah, today we're going to be watching Shane Dawson being a jerk during the production of his movie Not Cool.
Is not that raunchy. Somebody out there is a rat, and they're going around saying this is the raunchiest movie ever made, and it's pissing me the off.
He says, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I've had clients that have gone online, watched Shane's stuff, and said, I don't want to be a part of that.
When I was an actor, I was auditioning for everything. I don't quite understand the logic of being picky when you have no job.
Well, no, but that's the problem. They do have jobs. And one woman in particular who's a professor who's up for tenure.
Well, then why am I seeing professors? Where are the actors?
It's a smaller, more limited talent pool than out of New York or LA.
Can't find actors. If we can't find crew, then how are we going to fix this to make Pittsburgh look great? Because that...
So basically what's happening here, I guess, is that the script that Shane Dawson ended up with, his final cut of the script, is extremely raunchy. And I guess that made it into the final cut of the movie too, because people say this movie is a raunch fest. And so actors are refusing to take these roles because, to be honest, if you're an actor, you don't want your entire career to be filled with raunchy stuff, because it kind of sets the precedent that in maybe a future role you'd be more open to doing raunchy things. And it's unpleasant not only to be acting raunchy, but also to be typecast as a raunchy actor or things like that. And it doesn't look as good. And not to mention, if you do end up making it as a star, you don't want clips of you doing these raunchy things. Now, Shane here has no empathy for these people at all. Meanwhile, he claims nowadays that he's an empath every step of the way, which is phony as hell. But come on, man. Think of these people. Just because you're an actor who might not necessarily have a job doesn't mean you're going to degrade yourself to do something awful. That's such a bad way of thinking, Oh, just because you're poorer than me means I can pay you to do whatever the hell I want, No, that's not how that works. People still have their dignity, and you shouldn't be getting upset over people not wanting to do what you want them to do. It's stupid.
Quinto ain't doing anything.
It's been mentioned many, many times. The is a problem for people. So if we just lose that, I'm just saying.
I'm not taking anything out of the movie to please a bunch of out-of-work actors in Pittsburgh who should be lucky to get an audition for a feature film. No director has ever taken anything out of a movie to get somebody to audition. I'm angry.
Okay. So the fact that you are casting in Pittsburgh is so stupid. Okay, most of the actors that are in Pittsburgh are probably young people, in college or high school, in that surrounding area, who are like, sure, that sounds fun. Or just locals who are interested in doing acting as a side job. You know, they mentioned a professor. They clearly don't have acting on their mind. If you are filming a movie in Pittsburgh, you should understand your casting pool. It's not like Hollywood where you can get basically anyone there to do something, because most people go to Hollywood to become actors or actresses. There, you got the pick of the litter. You can pick whatever you want because people will be happy to get roles. But in Pittsburgh, where people are acting not for their livelihood, but for fun, you're going to have to meet them halfway or move your shoot to New York or LA. You know?
That we're finding out about this 2 days before we start filming the movie. I don't know. I'm gonna go.
Shane, stop it. You can't go. We have too much to do.
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do this in my.
Yikes. Unprofessional as can be, dude. If someone walked out of a meeting, a serious meeting too, because I looked this up, they had something like $1 million budget to make this movie. If someone walks out of a serious conversation about planning a $1 million budget movie, I would be furious. You know, he's basically treating these two people like they're jokes. You know, like their time doesn't matter, their careers don't matter because he can't deal with this right now. No, you sit there and you work it out until you solve the problem. That is absurdly childish. And he's like 24 or 25 or something in this, you know? Most people his age right now are still executive assistants, you know? They're still sitting on a secretary's desk trying to make their way in the world or something like that. Very, very few people get $1 million budget to make a movie.
Cool got a lot of really negative reviews.
Shane's movie got eviscerated in the critical landscape. I mean, absolutely destroyed.
Okay, so I guess we're skipping to the reception.
One review said that if you enjoy my movie, you must be a sociopath.
That was in the Los Angeles Times.
For me, reviews don't really
Oh my God.
mean whether a movie is good. To have 5 middle-aged white dudes judge your movie, especially a teen comedy, not really the tell-all for how the movie is.
To a degree, I agree with him there. You know, critic reviews often don't align with audience reviews, but every audience member who saw that, critic or not, panned it. They hated that movie, so, you know.
I think there's a chance that you guys might actually get together.
Okay, I think this is back to shooting. I think we're going back and forth a little bit.
It's fine that you're saying Facebook. I just want to say it too many times.
But she also said you Facebook stalks me.
I know. So we can use it, but say if the opening montage doesn't have Facebook and it's like generic, whatever.
Do you not understand what I'm saying?
I
She
do.
says Facebook
No, I do.
stalk
It's
me.
okay. It's okay.
Then why are you saying it's not okay if
Because
you say
she's saying it
twice?
so many times that
So we
it's
can
like.
only say it once?
So
then we either can say it or we can't.
No, that's
I don't
not-
Do you understand what she's saying?
It's
No, I don't either.
just
Okay.
just the
Let's
second
get to,
one, the
let's
line.
get to acting notes and not like word notes.
Yikes! Okay, so that was clearly a dispute about whether or not they can include the brand of Facebook in the final product of the movie. And that person who is giving notes to Shane, there are people who just, you know, stand by on set and they are sort of representative of legal or things like that. That might be her role. Or perhaps, you know, legal talk to her and mention that, hey, this could be a problem later on. We haven't cleared it with Facebook or, you know, our legal team. So, you know, just be careful with the number of times you say Facebook, because in post you can dub that out or you can work around it. But if you say Facebook 10 times in a scene, your range of footage that you can maybe dub it out with or, you know, fix in post, it becomes limited and limited because you kind of have to keep on doing it and the cuts are getting weirder and weirder, and it's just not a good thing of, you know, working with that. And maybe it has nothing to do with, you know, legal and more have to do with, well, I guess it probably would have to do with legal. Never mind. Yeah, I don't really see how it could be a problem any other way. But yeah, it makes sense what she's saying. You know, I would scrap it entirely if I were that worried about it. And I understand Shane Dawson's confusion in that regard, because it's like, well, if I can't say it once, why can I say it a bunch of times? And I don't think she was explaining it super well, but I don't think Shane Dawson was giving her the chance to say it very well. His reaction was very volatile and very get out of my face, I'm right, when he should have been a little bit more understanding about what she was saying and heard her out and taken the 5 seconds for her to explain what she means, so then he can make the decision from there. But instead, he's being brash and he's just making snap decisions. When you are at the helm directing a large movie like this, I mean, $1 million is a pretty good budget for some rom-com, you know? It's not like you're making the Avengers or something like that. So that's a pretty decent budget. And when you're at the helm of that budget, creating your creative vision, you'd think he'd put more thought into things. You'd think he'd sit there and go, okay, I see what you're saying. You know, take other people's words into consideration, because at the end of the day, you're slapping your name all over this thing. This is a Shane Dawson production, and just brushing people off like that is not going to help that production.
You like that?
Okay, this is a screening, I'm pretty sure.
Did you buy that they could have been in a relationship before?
Sorry to bother you. You're gonna come back in to talk, right? I think you should. You don't want to hear what people say?
No, I don't want to hear like specifics.
She's such a cartoon. I'm never gonna buy any version that he cares that she's gone.
So really, what do you think's gonna happen if you go in and listen?
I don't need to. I don't need to hear the pick party stuff.
Right.
All that's fine. But
Right.
to actually hear it, like, I don't need to.
Okay.
How long is
So actually, I think
To
that's
actually hear it, like, I don't need to.
that's a famous executive producer. I think he's Project Greenlight. I think it's him. Chris Moore. That's who it is. That's Chris Moore. Very, very. Okay, apparently there's a lot of Chris Moores. Yeah, Chris Moore, producer. You know, he is a very well-known producer in Hollywood. He did Project Greenlight, so this must be a play off of this show. But he knows how Hollywood works. You know, he knows what directors need to be seeing in order to finish the movie, and make it as good as possible. And a lot of that is, you know, screenwriting tips and things like that. And, you know, to have your director just tell you, I don't need to see that. No, I don't need to see that at all. You know, any advice from audience members who've seen it, that is a bad sign. You can see in his nervous laughter here, he's like, all right, this kid's an idiot. You know, this is, thank God he has an audience of millions of people on YouTube, because this movie's going to be terrible and at least we'll make our money back. You know, that's what he's thinking right now. And he's thinking this movie's going to be terrible because this guy is arrogant and he will not go and take notes from people, which is so dumb. I have a lot of respect for Chris Moore. You see him a lot in Project Greenlight, and he's giving guidance to those directors and things like that, who handle it a little bit better, although sometimes it does get heated. But this is the guy who's in your corner. This is the guy who is, you know, telling you what your best interest is right now to make this movie a success, because he's got experience in the industry. He's seen this happen many, many times. Just follow him. Follow his lead. He is your mentor right now, but Shane Dawson can't get out of his own way to do that.
Okay.
How long is it if you go from the top till we get to Scott
Okay,
and
this is
Tori?
editing, it
24
looks
minutes?
like.
I think if we do a cut, just take that scene out. I honestly don't even think you're gonna miss it.
We can try.
We can
I mean,
try
I don't
it.
want to do that right now.
Why can't we do it right now? Cut.
That's why you're here for a couple days, and I just felt like after we watched it, I'd rather like be excited and talk about the movie, like just jumping into it being like, this is the problem.
No,
It's like,
but
well,
this is, can't not say anything. I'm not gonna sit here and just tell you like it's done, it's ready to go. So
we've
really,
been working our off on this for
you're
and
only.
Okay, so clearly what's happening here is that she flew in to go and help him edit this movie or something like that, which is weird that he's in the editing room, because usually editing is fairly separate from directing unless you have Final Cut, which did they give Shane Dawson Final Cut on this? Because that is rare. I guess if you're seeing this movie all the way through for this TV show, maybe they gave him Final Cut, but usually directors don't get Final Cut on a film. You know, the editing block is different from the directing, because there's something called killing your darlings, which is very difficult to do in any sort of art, where basically, you know, you might have worked so hard to accomplish something in a scene, or, you know, writing a passage in a book or something like that. And you can't see it go because you know how much you put into that. But for the betterment of the film, you need to kill your darlings. You need to get rid of that because it will make a better final product. So typically directors don't get to be in the editing room too much. They get to give notes, I think, sometimes, but they don't get to, you know, do the editing themselves and all that. A good example of that is in Jaws. Not Stephen King. God, why am I blanking on probably the most famous director of all time? Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg and his editor were always, you know, sort of debating when to cut a scene. And in Jaws, it was very important because, you know, an extra second could make that stupid animated shark go from looking really stupid and fake to looking really scary and, you know, shocking to the audience. So, you know, Steven Spielberg had to kill his darlings a lot in that movie because working with that animated shark, I guess, was reportedly extremely difficult. So he didn't want to lose all that work he had put into it, but you have to for the betterment of the movie. And so Shane Dawson here is having trouble killing his darlings. He's having hard times, you know, taking criticism on something that he worked probably pretty hard on, you know, directing this thing, and he put a lot of work into it. I think they said that it took 20 days to film or something like that, which is a pretty decently long shoot. So he's probably having trouble taking criticism right now, and she's just trying to help. You know, she's there to do business. She's there to get this movie done, to cut it. And to her and any other person in the industry, production is not done until it is released to the public. You know, up until that point, changes can be made at any time. It is not a time for celebrating. Sure, go out for a beer when you finish filming and shooting, but you're still on the job up until that is published. You are still working on that movie. You are still trying to make it the best you can. And she is clearly in the industry, and she is clearly trying to get this done. And Shane Dawson is, you know, too busy trying to get congratulated to understand that. It is not time for congratulations at this stage. It is time to keep on working on this film.
Awesome. I think it's really good. Your note, they're going to roll the tape back. It's going to go back to him saying that the first 25 minutes doesn't work because Tori's not in it. And going to go to me saying, I think that I want to do it this way. That was the first note you went into. Was the one that you knew they were going to use.
No, I don't, Shane, because I'm not thinking about the TV show. I haven't even thought about that since that day.
Literally, I was sitting here listening to every single laugh. I can tell you the level from
Okay, I think we're back to talking about the
1 to 10
screening.
of each joke. Was there any that didn't play?
Not really. I mean, the things I was nervous about were.
We have a movie that
So he didn't take the notes from the people who screened the movie. And yet he's basing everything off of laughs in the theater, which isn't a great way of doing it. You know, when you're in a theater with, you know, the crew who worked on the film, you'll probably laugh. You know, you don't want to be impolite by just sitting there stone-faced the whole time while you're seeing this free movie, you know? And, you know, at the end of the screening, you get a little card where you can write out your notes, or you can talk to the director and things like that and voice your opinions. So even though they might be laughing, it could be nervous laughter. You know, they could be like, you know, whatever, but I'm gonna, you know, critique it at the end. You know, it could be better. It could be cut completely, things like that. So really basing things off of laughter that you're seeing is just a bad idea. It's not going to give, it's not going to give you the full scope of the emotions they're feeling. Only they can tell you that, and he's ignoring what they're telling him. He's just going with what he's seeing, which is not a great way to do it.
can still be better, but in the way that you envision it. Not about changing your vision. Do you see it as something that you still want to work on and make better? And
you guys, I'm really annoyed because I feel like I have not come across any less than a collaborative person. If you guys told me, like, hey, I think there's a lot of work to it, I'd be like, okay, great, let's do it.
You won't read the notes?
I want to see all the notes.
You said the opposite to me. And you specifically told me that night, you guys are going to send me the notes and I'm never going to read them.
I mean, as a joke.
But it's been a week and you haven't read them either, so I mean,
I don't know where they are. Because I knew you guys were going to come and say, hey, listen, this is the consensus from the...
He's such a prima donna. He is not... This is his directorial premiere, and he is that full of himself. Come on. Even experienced directors like Christopher Nolan will take advice from people, because making a movie is a collaborative effort. You know, no one person is right. And Christopher Nolan has had movie after movie after movie, yet you would never see him acting this way, I'm sure. You know?
That's different than reading them.
I'm supposed to read every single part?
I read every single one.
I'm interested to hear, like, specific things.
The one note from over half the people that wrote it on the cards was, the movie was too long, I had issues with the pacing.
What changes, if any, are
Two little things. I wanted him to add a beat of the party bus with silence.
I agree.
So that's it?
Listen,
That's
I've
fine.
compromised a lot in this movie, but, like, if I want one extra second, just let me have it.
No one's not letting you have
You
it.
shouldn't feel like I've compromised. I feel like you've learned and you've gotten notes.
There's certain things that I don't.
To be fair, yeah, I think there is a lot of compromising. On school projects I've worked with, you know, one person has a different vision, I have a different vision, so you do have to compromise. And I think that is a fair feeling to have. But once it becomes sort of like, you know, I compromised on all these, now you guys have to compromise on all these. That's not really how it works. Like I said before, it's a collaborative effort, you know? It shouldn't be like, I gave you this, so now you have to give me this. It should really be going towards the betterment of the movie and who has the best, you know, way of making this movie great.
Don't like that are still there. Like, I have definitely compromised.
You have Final Cut on.
I feel like I.
So he does have Final Cut. Wow, I can't believe they gave him Final Cut. Wow. Because at the end of the day, you know, he could have botched filming, but at the very end of making the movie, editing can change a piece of crud into something beautiful. The power of editing should never be taken for granted. And the fact that they gave him Final Cut for a first-time director is amazing. Even experienced directors don't get Final Cut. You know? Even experienced directors sometimes don't get Final Cut. So that is shocking. I bet it was probably because they were making the TV show thing, and so it adds like a few extra episodes, you know. They'll probably make their money back on the loss from this movie, if it even was a loss. I doubt it, because Shane Dawson was attached to it. But even if it was a loss, you know, they probably make it back from the TV show or something like that. So they were probably like, yeah, give him Final Cut. It'll be a couple more episodes or whatever, you know? So, I don't know.
I've been very open to every note, every suggestion, everything. I've never, like, yelled at you guys, said, I don't know. Like, if I just want an extra beat somewhere, like, I feel like I deserve it at this point.
I've been yelled at, for the record.
Okay, so I guess that's it. This was a really good cut, honestly. I'm glad I didn't have to watch the whole show to do it. Though these kinds of shows are pretty interesting. Shout out to Well, This Is Embarrassing, an appropriate name for this video. God, so much stuff about Shane is so bad. That is so bad. I'm not saying he hasn't grown since then. I'm sure he has, you know. But back then, oh my God, what a prima donna. What a little, like, brat, honestly. That's crazy. Let's see. His movie was basically a long version of his awful jokes/skits on YouTube. Likes to act like a real director but can't take constructive criticism. Gotcha. Yeah, honestly. This is like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but every Kardashian is Shane Dawson. As someone going into the film industry, Shane is the biggest joke of a director I've ever seen. Holy shit. Yeah. Creepy how he can cry so easily and feel so badly for people, yet he's unedited and is insane to people. Yes, in this, I don't see him being an empath ever. He is not an empath in this, in the slightest. That is such a facade that he has made up as like a character for himself for the new Shane, you know? He just reinvented himself as from being an asshole to being an empath. Complete 180. And his audience probably changed so much that anyone who used to watch him back then probably like doesn't now, you know? So he can get away with it. Crazy. Let me know, have you guys seen this movie? Do you want to see it? Do you want me to see it and then make a movie review? That'd be interesting. I've only seen pieces of it, so it could be fun. Yeah, either way, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment down below if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.